Deanna, who wears many hats, and she is also one of our organizers. She works for the YMCA as well. So the Live Well Black Hills it was birthed out of the YMCA in 2005. And the goal of the organization is to influence change in policy to help people make the healthy choice the easy choice. So with that, let's give it up for Deanna.
Good morning. How healthy are you?
Getting there.
Healthy.
Oh, I have some hands, yeah, and I got some coffees. Do you make the healthy choice, the easy choice, or the choice all the time? Not always. Am I in the wrong place? Sorry. Of course, Melanie said we started in 2005. I started working at the YMCA of Rapid City in January of 2018. I think that's the math correctly. So I've only been there a year and a half. And when I got there, this position was already established. So I walk into a nonprofit organization under a nonprofit organization that I need to facilitate a group of community leaders that are already established. So nothing like a little intimidation, but I was up for the challenge. So what Live Well Black Hills is, it started as pioneering healthy communities back in 2005. And there were a handful of leaders that really grassrooted it out of its infancy. And the only reason that the YMCA is involved in it is its fiduciary umbrella. So for those of you who are familiar with how nonprofits work, nonprofits nowadays need to have like a secondary checkpoint to look at their financials. Somebody to double check and make sure everything is on the up and up, especially since we work under a grant from the South Dakota Department of Health. That's where our grant funding comes from. So I'll just walk through kind of the whys and hows and a little bit of our successes, what we've done, what we've accomplished, and then where we're going and what we want to do and what we need from you as well. So I asked our executive director, Roger Gallimore, many of you probably know him or know of him, and I asked him, I know the hows, I know what we're doing, where we're going, but why did Pioneering Healthy Communities get started? Walked into his office, I said, I think I have a simple question. No, we sat and talked for about 5 minutes. It wasn't a simple question, but how or why we got started is our big United States YMCA, we call it YUSA, looks for successful YMCAs around the country when they start brand new programs. And the program they started or wanted to start was called Activate America. It was from the Robert J. Wood Foundation. They looked at successful Ys around the USA, and they wanted to get this program started, and they looked at Rapid City. And we look at our little town, our little community, what are we, maybe 80,000 people now, maybe? And we've got an amazing, successful YMCA. And so they looked at us and said, here, start this. And we were identified as one of those top performing YMCAs, so we got started with that. Well, in 2005, we wanted to incorporate it not just for Rapid City, but actually look at growing it in the Black Hills. So hence the rename Live Well Black Hills back in 2014, we changed the name, 2005 it started. 2014, it was renamed to include the Black Hills area. And of course, I already mentioned that we work under a grant from the South Dakota Department of Health. I had the, I'm going to say this with tongue in cheek, the exclusive privilege of working under the first grant, writing the final reports for the last grant, and then helping rewrite, because there was a team of like 6 or 8 of us that wrote the new grant for this new year that we were just entering. Those of you who have written grants before, you know the pain and suffering that goes with that. But it was a challenge. I keep asking myself, why am I walking through this? There's a reason for everything. So it's good things to have in our pockets. And I worked with a great team that helped us write it. And I'll tell you some details about that. In December of 2017, Live Well Black Hills partnered with Healthy Hometown, powered by Wellmark. So it's not a Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance piece, but it's again, fiduciary under Wellmark, and it's a way that Wellmark is bringing healthier choices to make the healthy choice the easy choice, and being able to make some policy change so that people are eating better, eating well, moving more, and feeling better, so that basically, in the long run, our insurance rates, our healthcare rates can possibly come down in the future. So that's kind of the underlying why and reason for Healthy Hometown. But we partnered with them in December 2017, and then last August we were approached to apply for one of their awards, which was $5,000. And guess what? We won. That's what this little plaque is for. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what we did with those dollars. So some of the organizations that are involved in Live Well Black Hills, and anybody can be a part of Live Well Black Hills. We meet every second Friday of the month. Right now we're meeting out at SDSU Extension, which is whichever direction from here. Second Friday of the month. So this Friday we are meeting 9 a.m. It's always 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Like I said, we're meeting out at SDSU Extension. So some of the organizations that are involved, from the beginning, Regional Health has been involved. YFS, I don't want to miss any, so I'm going to read them right from my list. SDSU Extension, Rapid City Area Schools, some nurses from there, Rapid City Police Department, Parks and Rec, Helpline, of course the YMCA, a couple of child care centers, City of Rapid City, we've got a city councilman on board, and many more community members. Some of our successes. Are you familiar with the bike lanes that are on Kansas City Street and Mountain View Road? Those were birthed out of Live Well Black Hills, working with City and making some healthy choices. Are you familiar with the flashing crosswalk across Omaha, downtown, across 6th Street? That was birthed out of Live Well Black Hills. The successes that we've had with the award money, with our Healthy Hometown money, is we partnered with Parks and Rec and asked where there is a need for bike racks and a bike repair station. Are you familiar with this? If you go down to Founders Park, there's a little bike repair station that has tools hanging down, and you can actually lift your bike on top of it, change your tires right there without having all the tools on you. So we have purchased a bike repair station and 3 10-spot bike racks. 2 bike racks, one is going to go outside Redwood, there's a need there. And then also Black Hills Farmers Market. And then the bike repair station is going to go near the bike rack out at Canyon Lake Park. And so we are in suggestion mode where to put that other bike rack. So if you've got suggestions, we'll take those. And then the newest things that are coming out of Live Well Black Hills, we are in the new grant funding. So I'll try to go through these quickly, and then I'll take some Q&A for asking for more of those. We are starting a Passport to Wellness. It's a dual funded thing with Live Well Black Hills and Regional Health. And what we're going to do is come behind already supported events and activities. So let's say there's different 5Ks that are going on around. Those are some Move More activities. Eat Well might be some canning classes that SDSU Extension is doing. Other things that are going on in the community that we can get behind, support, and put media behind it. And we are going to make one of them a month a passport event. And so we're going to create online a passport that people can log into. And then for every event they attend, they get a stamp in their passport. Then there's prizes at that event. At the end of the year, there's going to be a grand prize for, you get more entries for every event that you go to. So that's just part of it. Another part is actually creating Live Well Black Hills certified businesses or organizations. So those businesses and organizations that are putting in worksite wellness initiatives. Maybe they're doing blood pressure screenings. Maybe they're doing a walking track around their workspace. Maybe they're encouraging walking on breaks, things like that. So we're going to create a checklist of what activities and things that businesses can put into place and become a certified business. They're going to get a little sticker on their door. We're going to cross promote on each other's websites and give them that recognition and promotion. And then of course, community gardens and blood pressure screenings are a couple of other initiatives that we're going to do. So what we're looking for are passionate people and businesses, organizations that want to bring health and wellness to the community. And of course, organizations and businesses to participate, whether they want to promote or sponsor a passport event or become a certified business. So that's the basics for this forward momentum. And I'll open it up for questions and answers.
I do have a question. I'm Leah Braun with Nsight Partners. What I'm wondering is, do you have any designs or plans to educate people at home? And what I mean by that, parents specifically, I mean, you probably agree, it all starts at home, so teaching parents to teach their children how to cook, how to shop, how to not just go get fast food. How do you fight that, or how do you, I'm sure you've discussed it, but do you have any plans for addressing that?
Specific individual activities like that, I think, will come under the umbrella of the events that we're going to be supporting.
Mm-hmm.
So some of them will be maybe cooking classes, maybe canning classes. We've got a Facebook page that you can follow, Live Well Black Hills, that we take some of the marketing materials from Healthy Hometown that have specific bullet points of, healthier choices. Mm-hmm. And so we're able to do that for specific families, but hopefully getting a hold of events and getting behind the events that are supporting those individual education events, but not specifically, we don't have specific one-on-one things that we're actually doing in Live Well. We are, the community gardens that we're doing, we're going to be focusing on childcare community gardens. So we're going to be partnering with, reaching out to about 5 of them this year, and hopefully bringing in educational materials from SDSU Extension, and then a little starter pack or a continuing pack if they already have community gardens set up, and starting there, because that's where the family begins, is when the kids learn, and then they can bring those skills into the family. And then of course inviting the family to come to those events for, say, the gardens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Buddha with Isogenics. When you started, you said something about making it easier. Easier, I think, is a marketing word that people would really grab onto. I mean, I'm really interested in this. Somebody on this last weekend at church was just crying out to me, frustrated because she now weighs 240 pounds, and was explaining, all her challenges with that. She doesn't like to cook. I think she's like the classic, and I keep thinking I ought to get something started in our church as a support group for people, and so, that kind of thing. But doesn't like to cook, fast food. Well, when my kids want to go to Culver's, no offense to Culver's, when my kids want to go to Culver's, and I just cave. So she's obviously teaching her kids to go through fast food, and she doesn't. So it's I really want to help people like that. Mm-hmm. So how do I, materials? I'm just really interested in hearing more about how to get that going.
Correct. Yeah. Our group focuses more on, and I'll read the vision. It is serve as a coalition to inform and take action on programming, policies, and procedures, the 3 boring P's. But, and it's going to help our community eat well, move more, and feel better. So for example, when a neighborhood has no sidewalks, or you notice, you're going to go away today and notice sidewalks. I swear you are, because I do. So when you go into a community and you've got this sidewalk that goes from here and then it ends in nowhere. I've got a few in Somerset that I live out there, and I see them and I go, there's an end of a sidewalk. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't continue. It doesn't encourage walking. Right. If you've got challenging, busy streets to cross, moms with strollers and kids on bikes are not going to bike and walk. Mm-hmm. If you've got school areas that don't have sidewalks or easy accessibility, you've got kids that are not walking and not biking to school. They're being dropped off. And I forget what there's a video on our website, livewellblackhills.org, that will walk you through some statistics on how many people, think back in the 70s, which a lot of us were, few of us not, but a lot of us were, there were, I want to say 80% of kids walking to school. Right now, it's in the teens of the percentage. It's sad. So that's what we focus on, is more of those deep-rooted policies. That's why we're working with, the city and the city council. One of the things we have done, which was one of my my jobs, my tasks per se, is when I would get an email from our city councilman saying that there is a sidewalk variance coming up. So developers in neighborhoods that are developing, and JD's probably familiar with this, they apply for a variance to not build the sidewalk because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And when it's in an area that is heavily industrial, they really apply for it. But I go in and look at the map and see how many businesses are around there, thinking there's people employed there that want to walk on their lunch break, or maybe want to walk to work, depending on how far it is from their area. Or there's communities where there are housing that is just popping up around it. And we send a letter recommending that they deny the variance and they put in the sidewalk. And we're pretty happy. I think 6 out of the 8 variances over the time that I've been in this position, they have denied, and the builders have had to put in the sidewalk, which is pretty exciting. So it continues that making the healthy choice the easy choice. When we have full sidewalks and complete streets, it makes it easier for moms to walk, kids to walk to school.
J.D. Henderson with Wrangell Construction Company. Has being involved in this informed your own personal life in any way? And you talk about making healthy choices. Has any changes taken place in your own life in that regard? Where you've been involved in this and regimented a little bit differently? Yeah, personally, I'm not quite sure. I notice things more. I notice those ending sidewalks. I notice those streets that are crumbling and decaying. But I walk anywhere. I mean, I'll walk along Sturgis Road. It's no big deal for me, even in the heavy traffic. But you're familiar because, I approached you with the Somerset. We moved to Somerset in November, and I instantly talked to the city council and got on board with Healthy Hometown and getting that in. So we actually did our walk audit, kind of evaluated our walking areas and our sidewalks. So I was involved in that, brought my family along. And then I also encouraged a community garden in Somerset. So we actually, and the city people at Somerset go, yeah, that's Deanna's project. She's pushing us to do that. So kind of in that way. And then of course I asked Wrangell Construction to be, a partner in that. And it's not off the ground yet. We missed our funding for a grant that we applied for, but we'll be reapplying hopefully next month, and then be able to jump on that project in the spring of 2020. Oh my gosh, that's hard to say. So in that case, in my specific community where I live, hopefully make good changes in that sense. And even my husband said, if you weren't working in this and doing this, he says, I would have no idea on the streets. And even the Facebook community for my community, the Facebook online, someone put in there, how can we make a change or suggest a change for a crosswalk across Sturgis Road? If you've been through there, you know how busy Sturgis Road is. And I commented in there, get involved with Healthy Hometown. When you see Healthy Hometown posted in there, that is one of the priorities. But they missed it. And so it was good to have, someone else who had been in those to be able to post in there saying, get on board, or when the community starts doing these things, that's where you want to watch. Yeah.
I'm Colleen Reagan, New Freedom Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. I love that there are some bike paths in town because it makes it safer for the people on bicycles. It seems like, in watching the one that went up on Canyon Lake area, or went in, that there was resistance by drivers and some bitterness that it actually happened. How hard is it to increase the amount of bike trails or bike lanes on the streets? Because there's more people biking, and there's so many dangerous streets for adults, in packs, and for kids just by themselves. Mm-hmm. How hard is it to get that done, and how much more of it do you see coming in the area?
Probably more of a question for our city planner that's in our group for the toughness, because I wasn't part of that, because that was years ago. But for education, I think and making it aware, making the public aware of it is one of the things that we want to bring to the forefront, and that's how we can reach and bring those initiatives to light for the general public. There's something I thought of that I was going to answer with that. It'll come back to me.
Beth Ann, again with the isogenics, kind of along that same note, I live on Spring Creek Road, which is bordering Hart Ranch Golf Course. And that is known to be a favorite place for bikers to bicycle. And what is like, why? You know, there is no shoulder. It's a 50-mile-an-hour road. And it's like, what? Is there an easy thing that could be done to make that a safer place? I mean, obviously it's just a lovely area. I don't know if they like the hills or why it's such a favorite place for people to bicycle, but it's worrisome.
Mhm.
It's worrisome. It's dangerous.
It is. It is.
So what
And
can
to
we
create-
do there?
To create that width of bike path can sometimes be millions of dollars. And that's part of Rapid City. So it's a matter of just coming to the city of Rapid City. It'd be different if it were, you know, Hart Ranch Incorporated in that specific sense. But it might be just starting with your community, what would you call those? Organizers.
I don't
And
know,
then they can bring it to the city.
just signage might be helpful.
Signage, doing a walk audit and a bike lane audit. That's what we did in Somerset, and we made it a priority to look at actually putting in, and there's things you can research and there's things you can look up on Healthy Hometown, even the little skinny cones, and making not invisible bike lane, I forget the terminology of it, but actually, you know, setting it apart, but not having a concrete barrier that's really expensive, but actually just having those cones. You can even paint an area. Even that shoulder you can have painted green. There's lots of different options and lots of things that you can look at, but it's a matter of, you know, just getting in with your city. I'm pretty proud of Rapid City, and we are, LiveWell is reaching out into the other communities with the partnership of Healthy Hometown. We're in Lead Deadwood, Custer, and Somerset. They've got their Healthy Hometown plans launched. But I'm pretty proud of Rapid City with the initiatives that they have brought with their 2020 plan. They're going to be renewing it, and we call it Complete Streets. And Rapid City has embraced that, of course, because the city planners have gone to different trainings. The kind of the history behind it is our nation has changed and evolved from walking, biking to getting the traffic from A to B as fast as they can. They've designed the infrastructure to move traffic, and they have neglected for the past probably 20 years the bikes and the walkers and the buses. And so what cities are doing now, and they're doing on a nationwide basis, I believe, is in their training, is actually looking at when they remodel streets, when they redo communities, when they redo neighborhoods, it's actually looking at bikers, walkers, cars, public transit, trucks, garbage trucks. So that's a lot of, you know, big vehicle movement on streets, and then little movement on streets too. So they're looking at it in a larger scale, which is really cool because Rapid City is on board. So if there are, you know, communities that are smaller that are looking at revamping things, that'd be something to look into, and encourage your communities to do that when they're remodeling.
Mike DePrey, Rocky Talks. I'm curious about your the passport program you mentioned. Can you tell us a little more?
Sure. Passport is going to actually go all three, Eat Well, Move More, Feel Better. So we're looking at 4 of those every year. So I think it's 1 a quarter. But anyway, we're going to have an event once a month. We looked at it, and we don't want to create an event because we don't want to have to, you know, bring up all of that and do all the work. What we want to do is get behind some of those activities. So we're looking at possibly doing, like, we're going to, you know, finalize everything Friday in our meeting, looking at doing like a soft launch, maybe September, and coming along behind something that they're doing at like Black Hills Farmers Market. And I think our big launch is going to be October, and the Box Elder, the YFS Harvest Festival. So that's going to be, you know, covering a lot of things, but we're going to kind of, you know, pinpoint it into like the Eat Well, and encouraging people to, you know, get involved with healthy choices in their, you know, food. Some of the other things, like I said, 5Ks. The Feel Better portion is more of like the volunteerism and the mental health. And so we're going to look at possibly partnering with a few things that 211, the helpline, is coordinating. And we're looking for events for the next 2 years to actually come behind it and lift up. And maybe What one thing we looked at or we talked about over, writing the grant and creating this passport is sometimes there's 5Ks. There's like 5 of them going on in one weekend. Have you ever noticed that when you're listing them? And maybe what we need to do, and we're going to look at that, is not box them all together, but market them all together and look at them as like, and not rename them, but, give them kind of a lift, a boost with the marketing monies that we have set aside, and promote all 5 at once, because some people have a tough time getting to, or maybe we can communicate with all 5 organizations that are doing them, or if it's 3 organizations, and say, you're doing these all at the same time, why not do them together and promote them as one, instead of having the public having to choose and pick and piece and put them together. But there's lots of other activities and ideas that we want to look at, and we need those ideas, or we need those the organizations and the businesses and the people that are coordinating them to get in touch with LiveWell, so that we can look at them and kind of place them and prioritize them.
All right, I do have another question. I was waiting. So that person. How do you, so we all know you're an entrepreneur, you do different things. How do you fit all these into your life? I mean, this is your prime gig, but there's a lot of entrepreneurs here that are doing multiple things.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? How do you fit it all in?
Prioritize. Well, thankfully, I've got a flexible schedule, because the bulk of my job at the YMCA is coming out and doing activities and promoting the Y outside the Y, and promoting LiveWell outside, and I do a lot of outside stuff. So I'm able to, take an extended lunch to, record radio or whatever I need to do, or take a little extra time here and there, or piece out my day. Like last night, was chamber mixer, so I was able to take a little extra time during the day. But making sure I've got, the priorities, what needs to be number 1 and what needs to be number 2, and getting to that time in the day where you're like, okay, I got to cut it off. I got to shut it off and be, with family or with, any other activities that I need to be doing. So it's just prioritizing it and setting the time, color coordinating my schedule, making sure it's all organized, and actually I added in, when you ask about, personal time as well, I added in horizontal time. Don't take me wrong. Don't get that wrong. And I explained this on a Facebook Live I did. This thing on top of our head weighs about 10 to 12 pounds, sometimes 15 if we've got a big noggin. And it's hard to hold up for 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 15 hours a day. And there's a point in the day where I have to lay down, and I actually have to physically be horizontal for 15, 20 minutes. There's a reason that kindergartners have a nap time, and adults should have that too. So that's making the healthy choice the easy choice. So scheduling horizontal time in the middle of the day. So I encourage you, if you haven't done that and you're tired in the middle of the afternoon, of course, make good choices in your foods, but take the pressure off your head and lay down. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, Melanie Torno with Torno Mediation and Mental Services. So, when you're looking at, and maybe you don't work directly with them now, but in your experience, what do you feel like are some of the biggest challenges for people to not make healthy choices?
I'm thinking, in my personal opinion, I'm just going to lay it out there. Fast food is the easy choice. It's simple, it's quick, we're running fast, and we have to, as a human being, as an individual, actually make a mental effort to make a better choice and set a better example for, if we have children or if we, want to influence the next generation. We've got to go back to the old-fashioned way of food prep or hiring someone to food prep. Maybe that's another business. Maybe that's an entrepreneur activity that someone wants to get going, is actually, creating that food prep. There are businesses and business people that do things like that. But some of the moms, dads that are wanting to make food choices don't have the time for the food prep or don't have the knowledge. What was really just eye-opening to me is this community garden thing. I was raised with a garden. My mom and dad gardened an entire acre, including raspberries, strawberries, rhubarb, fruit trees. And it just befuddles me that people weren't raised that way and don't know how to even plant, a little box of, tomatoes. And I think, oh yeah, we live in, urban and city, and kids don't know how to do that nowadays. So, maybe it's just coming alongside, a group of kids, a child care, a community, and teaching them. I mean, just the eyes, when you see kids planting stuff and growing it and eating it, their eyes and their ahas of, I just grew this and I ate it and I've never eaten this before. I remember babysitting when I was a kid, just a side note, and I was watching a 4-year-old. Parents worked at Hardee's. This child had never seen fruit and vegetables. I pulled out a peach and cut it up, and this 4-year-old said, "What's that?" And I about fell off my chair. This was back in 1990, and this kid didn't know what a peach was. So I mean, it's evolved from that, where kids don't know where their food sources come from. So it's education. So maybe that's an entrepreneurial whatever, or maybe it's a service thing that entrepreneurs come out, people who have health and wellness passion, to be able to bring that basic education to the kids. That's just one part of it. I mean, for the moving and activities, that's another whole beast on its own. Yeah.
An activity, is that what you're saying, moving?
Moving, yeah. Yep, just getting moving and playing, getting outside, getting away from the screens. Yeah. And when we move and when we are active, guess what helps? The mental. Mm-hmm.
I wondered if you interface with the police department at all, because another barrier I believe is public safety. I run, and the bike path should be perfect, right? I've learned between 5th and the Valley, I can't go out there. There are homeless people congregated. A single woman by herself, I just can't do it as much as I want to. And I know the police department is making strides as far as getting plainclothes police officers out there and things, but there's a good chunk of our bike path that you can't go on unless you're with another group of people or with, and it's unfortunate, but I don't know if that's very part of the conversation.
It has. SDSU Extension actually did a small little study, just kind of some feedback on an area. I'm not going to pinpoint the area, but what area of town. There's a park there. And even running up M Hill, and just surveyed a few people, and they were uncomfortable as typically women. They were uncomfortable with being alone or having their kids there.
Right.
And it's something that Parks and Rec, that's who we brought it to. And then of course the police department were involved in that too. But they're aware of it, and they're making strides. And of course we can't have everybody in the same place at the same time,
Right.
I mean, if we could have, a cop running with us all the time, awesome. But, we always can't have them in the space or in the time that we're doing those activities.
Right.
But, awareness, and they're doing their best, for sure. Yep, but they're aware of it.
Another question. Where do you see this program moving to in the future?
Oh my goodness. All I can see is the next 2 years, because that's, how we look at things, and the next 1 year. With the media that we're going to, push and get behind it, I think it's going to grow, and we're going to have more community involvement, even more business and entrepreneurs as part of it. Right now it's a lot of, nonprofit, city, organizations around the town, but I think we're going to have a lot more individual people jumping on board, because there's a handful just out of our group that I invited, and they're coming in. So that's what I see, is more community involvement, and that's what we want to see, more voices. I kind of mentioned it at the end. Of course, we're looking for passionate people, and this is more of a local ask, because we are, just in the Black Hills. If you know people in the outside communities, we are working on launching, or we've met with communities in Hot Springs, Boxelder. We're wanting to get into Spearfish, Balfouche, and Sturgis. So those small outlying communities, if you've got connections in there in the ways of city people, people who are excited or passionate about health and wellness in those communities, to be able to build this in a greater expanse, Black Hills wise, that would be great to get in contact with me with those people, or if those people are listening, get in contact with Live Well Black Hills. You can do it livewellblackhills.org. There is a contact part in there, and then Facebook page as well. You can message us there. And then, of course, those of us that live in the Rapid City proper area, get involved. If you want to join us, check out what we're doing, what we're planning and growing. It's only a once a month meeting. We might be meeting more frequently than that to get some fine-tuned details of all these passport events. But get involved, and then tell your friends. I mean, that's the big thing, because you might not be the exact person to join with Black Hills, Live Well Black Hills. You may know people that are the perfect fit, that have initiatives or activities or events that they're wanting to get more oomph behind, so we can be the oomph provider. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's give it up for Deanna for Live Well